Thank you guys for joining. So I'm Sadie with Digital Democracy Project, and I'm gonna pull up our video. So overall, Digital Democracy Project, we're a nonpartisan nonprofit and all about building a voter-driven system of government, putting more power in the hands of voters. So I'll go over our free civic engagement platform and our new legislator accountability scorecards. And then we'll go through, we have about 10 recent federal bills that we'll cover tonight. And then we definitely want to leave some time for discussion. So let's go ahead and get started with our explainer video. And let me know if I'm having audio issues. Maybe loading issues.
Ever wish you could tell your legislators exactly how to vote? Well, now you can. And it's right in the palm of your hands. Introducing the Digital Democracy Project, a mobile voting app and online tracking system, connecting you to the process, giving you the power. You vote on pending bills, on issues that affect us every day, telling legislators how you want them to vote. There's no party politics, no big money, and no special interests. We only compare what voters want to what legislators actually deliver, and everybody can see it. Your representatives, the media, everybody, all from your phone. Plus, it's absolutely free. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You vote on the same bills as your representatives. We track it online in real time, a running tally. Then we take score. We add up every vote on every issue and we post it. You can see if they have voted with or against the majority. And come election time, now you know the score. It's powered by blockchain technology, keeping you secure. And with ID verification, it guarantees that all votes are real votes by real human voters. And don't worry, we never store, share, or monetize your data. And we never will. We're just putting the power where it belongs, right in your hands. So join us. We have the technology. You have the power. The Digital Democracy Project. This is what democracy looks like.
All right, so that gives a pretty good overview, and I'll quickly go over our website and then the Votes app that voters are using to get verified and add their votes in is separate, so I'll save that for the end. So on our website, and we have it set up this way so that way anyone's able to come and see all the info, whether you're verified or not, or able to vote. So this is all on the tally page. This is where you can kind of see a timeline of the bills that voters have been weighing in on. So let's just pick a random one. So Stop the Ballroom Bribery Act. So for each of these bills, you can click on the tally map and it'll show you the summary of the bill. And then if you want more info, you can see the bill scorecard. So we'll jump into that here in a minute. But for the overview on the tally page, you can see the overall vote results. So how many voters had voted in support of the bill, how many voted in opposition for each state. And then you can also see the results for the country overall. And then if you'd like to as well, you can select a state and then zoom in to see the state level breakdown, the district level for the federal bills. It'll be the congressional districts. And then I'll show you for the state level bills. So for Florida, these bills are already closed, but this is where you can see the state bills and then the state level district breakdown. So state senate or state house. And same idea, the summary and the vote results. And this is where legislators can use this, candidates can use this as a way to hear from voters in their district to get an idea of how they feel about different bills to inform their voting. And then for voters, this is where we really want to get as many voters as we can weighing in to get that power and numbers effect so that our voices have more influence on our legislators. So that's kind of the overall idea on this page. And then I'll jump over to the bills and then I'll save the scorecards for last. So the bills view page is kind of where you can get more info about the bills and also see all the bills that we've posted. So there's different filters here where you can sort if you want to see like federal bills only, a certain state, and then you can also sort by categories or issues and by different years too. So we'll just, for this tonight, we'll focus on the federal bills. So I'll narrow down by federal, and 2025-2026 is the current 119th congressional session. So let me pick a more well-known bill. So the Ukraine Support Act, that one, I'll just kind of show you the resources because we'll get more into depth with all the recent bills on these here in a minute. So for each of the bills, we also provide, these are impact statements, so kind of making it clear what a yes vote means, what a no vote means, and why an organization may support or oppose. And then you can also get more information about each of the organizations that have taken a stance. You can see other stances they've taken. And then you can also get like info to see their website, or if you want to reach out to them, we try to provide their contact info when we can. And so, yeah, overall, it's the same summary from the tally map. And then the other features here, you can see the full text of the bill if you'd like to read the actual text. And then, oh, I think I hit the wrong button. 1 second. Pull this back up. And another one of the resources, you can see the status of the bill. So is my screen being shared right now? Okay, there we go. I think it just popped up. So the plural will show like the sponsors of the bill, co-sponsors, and the status of the bill. So you can see those over here. And like this one, for example, passed in the House. So there's some info there they provide. And then other features here, you can see the Kiala will provide pros and cons. And you can also add in, if you have your own pros and cons you'd like to add, those will get checked by our team, and then anyone can see those. And the same tally maps down here where you can see all the vote results or by state. And then one of our newer features too is VoteBot. Here you can ask different questions. You can get more info about the bill, and this is really helpful too to kind of help fill the gaps. So if you have particular questions about the bill or maybe some of the language used, you can ask what you want from VoteBot to kind of get the info you're looking for. And then, so we're just providing that summary, but if you want more info, you can use VoteBot to get that. And then you can also ask it to do a web search too. So another thing I like to ask is like why specific organizations took a stance to kind of get their perspective on the bill. So yeah, that's another helpful resource, and you can use those all while you're voting on the bill too in the app or from the website. And then down here, our scorecards will show how each legislator had voted on the bill. And then I'll scroll down to Florida where most of our voters are. So you can kind of see the comparisons for how the first column is how the voters in that district had voted. The middle column is how that legislator voted on the floor. And the third column just shows how closely, if the legislators' vote matched or didn't match how the voters had voted. And then the third column here will show how many particular voters in that district had weighed in. So that's kind of the overview for each bill to see the vote record. And then this bill only passed in the House, so this one won't show Senate votes. And then that's kind of the overview for all the bills. So like I said, you can see the previous bills, and we're up to about 160 federal bills for this current session that voters are still weighing in on. And then I'll show you guys the scorecards. So we just released our updated legislator accountability scorecards. So now you can see a scorecard for every member of Congress and U.S. Senator. And then for the state level bills, you can also see the recent sessions and the vote comparisons too. So let me narrow down by Florida, and let's just pick on a House member. So these are also ordered by how high their score is, and I'll kind of show you more details so you know where the score is coming from. So this is also a way where in the middle column you can see how that legislator, basically their voting record, how they voted on each of the bills. And then the first column is the comparison to voters in their district. So you can see how there's not voters that have weighed in her district on each of the bills. So if she had more voters in her district that were weighing in, she would have a lot more. This third column would be more filled up and her score would change drastically. So yeah, as voters continue to weigh in, if the majority of how the voters in the district voted changes, that'll affect the scorecard of the legislator. And then for legislators like this that don't have many voters in their district weighing in, once they do weigh in, that'll change the scorecard too. So just wanted to highlight that. You can definitely use it to see their voting records, but the important thing about our scorecards is basically we're grading on democracy. So how closely the legislators' votes matched how the voters had voted. So the voters are the ones that are driving the accountability and determining the outcome of the scorecards. And I think that's about everything for the scorecards. And I'll quickly mention too, we do also have some other resources on our website. We have our media page that has different interviews, videos, our newsletters about Digital Democracy Project, TEDx talk our founder did. And then our endorsements page, we also post, we're always looking to connect with candidates and legislators that want to use this tool as a way to hear from voters. And then we'll post them on our legislator page. And then you can also link to the candidate legislators website to get more info about them too. And I definitely don't want to forget. So if we do have 2 candidates running for Congress on the call, so if you guys want to take like a minute or 2 to introduce yourself, and you can drop the link to your website in the chat too if you'd like. But yeah, I see Dan, you're off mute if you want to start.
Yeah, of course. I don't mind. Links in the chat. So hi, everybody. My name is Dan Williams, and I'm running for Congressional District 11 right here in Florida. My plan of attack is to utilize Digital Democracy Project for most everything in my whole campaign. My main platform is going to be direct democracy, where I'm going to ask everyone's opinion, and then my vote in DC will always go with the majority opinion inside of my district. And how we're going to work on that is I'll make educational videos that help explain every single one of these laws. So it's kind of like what we're doing right here, but it'll be much more concise and it'll be much more visual, for lack of a better term for it. And that's my whole plan. So if you guys want to learn more, danwilliamsforcongress.com. Take it away, Eric.
I'm gonna figure out how to use my stuff here. My name is Eric Yonce. I am running for Congressional District 6 here in Florida. And I think this is an amazing platform. You know, I've always wanted to have an impact and at least tell my representatives what I thought about things. And this is such a great tool, especially for someone running for Congress, as Dan was alluding to. Like, we can get a voice. We can get input right away from voters. And I think this is such a great opportunity for anybody that's either already elected or running for office to have that. So I am proud and honored to be a part of this. And yeah, let's enjoy the call. And I'll try to figure out how to use the chat. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yonceforcongress.com, YONCE for Congress.com is how you can find out more information about me.
I'll figure out how to put it in there for you. I'll pull it up real quick.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, definitely appreciate the support. And voters, it really helps motivate voters to vote when they know people or legislators, candidates are wanting to use it to hear from them. And then I think the only other thing I want to show on our website is about the Votes app and how voters can weigh in. So we partnered with Votes, VOATZ. They're real certified mobile voting technology. They started for service members overseas to be able to vote from their phones. And so we're using them to where we can verify voters are real voters. They are who they say they are. And for voters to be able to cast advisory votes on the same bills as legislators. So on our vote page here, you can get more info. So you can use the web app. The blue link right here will take you to the Votes web app, which is the newer option. And then you can still use the Votes mobile app too, if you'd like to. And it'll have you do a one-time verification process, and it'll have you do like a photo ID verification, selfie scan. And then once you get verified, all your info gets deleted. And we feel that the verification is really important, especially as like AI deepfakes are becoming more and more of an issue, to where we know we don't have like bots skewing the results. We don't have people voting multiple times, and we know we don't have like bad actors trying to misrepresent the voters. So this kind of helps the votes carry more weight, and legislators know they can trust the results. And yeah, for voters, it kind of gives more weight to where legislators can't discredit that the results are fake. So that's kind of why we have it set up that way. And John, I know I'm always forgetting. I always leave something out that you like to add in if you want to chime in.
No,
Or yeah,
I think yeah, knowing that the ID gets deleted and that we don't like sell your data or anything like that. You just get a unique chain, a unique token on the blockchain, just to certify that you are a verified registered voter in America. That means everybody that's actually casting a vote on this platform is an American citizen and is eligible to vote.
awesome. Yeah, thank you. All right. But yeah, we definitely encourage as many people as we can weighing in. And like I said, it carries more weight that way. So if you aren't already, definitely get verified, add your votes in, like I said, on all the 160 or so federal bills, with more to come until the session ends. And I think I'll jump into bills, unless you guys feel like I forgot anything. And we'll start with the tally page too. So yeah, for the recent bills, since our last monthly legislative forum, we're into July. So we had about 10 bills in the last, since the last session. So we'll start with these. All right. So to start with the Protecting Privacy Act, or Privacy and Purchases Act, and I'll pull up the bills view page for each of these with the extra info. So for this bill, it would prohibit credit card networks and payment processors from using or requiring merchant category codes that specifically identify firearms retailers. This means businesses selling firearms, ammunition, and related products could not be set apart from general or sporting goods stores and payment systems. The U.S. Attorney General would enforce the law, handle complaints, and require corrective action if violations occur. It also overrides any state or local laws that mandate firearms-specific codes, but still allows codes for fraud prevention and security. Each year, the AG must report to Congress on the law's effectiveness. And I did want to add, before we get into the discussion, I found it helpful to better understand this bill from the impact statement. It had mentioned about like organizations, let's see, I think it was the Vote No. It said to use firearm-specific merchant codes as tools for monitoring suspicious transactions and strengthening oversight of gun-related spending. So that kind of helped me better understand the bill about being able to track those kind of purchases. So yeah, I'll kind of go through the vote results, but does anyone want to add more details in?
I can, if nobody else wants to. Yeah, I always tend to do this part of it. Anyway, so the people that like this bill is because they think that it's kind of making a kind of backdoor gun registry. So kind of what basically the bill is doing, right, is when you go buy a gun, you can actually put a specific code next to your name or next to the purchase or next to the store. And then you can actually start pulling those records, which actually will tell people who is buying guns or ammunition or stuff like that. So that's kind of what they're trying to make not happen, for lack of a better term. Now, if you are on the other side of it, then people want this because we're trying to make sure that we have standard kind of codes that we can actually track these things to figure out purchasing patterns. So this could be like a massive ammunition stockpile. This could be like tons of different guns to the same person. And then those kind of things would set up alarm bells kind of in the FBI. So then maybe they could look in on that person to see why they need so many guns or so many like ammunition and stuff. But this goes against the Second Amendment because that's kind of where it flips back and forth all the time. And if it does pass, then it actually shuts down existing legislation, because there's actually legislation in California and New York ongoing for people trying to sue these credit card companies that are doing this now, and they're trying to stop them from doing it.
Okay.
Okay, so, but this is saying that it actually implied that sporting goods stores don't have this special code. So like if somebody went to Walmart and bought a gun, they don't get put on the registry. If they buy, 10,000 rounds of ammunition from Walmart, then they wouldn't be a part of this. This would only actually affect small businesses and people that run smaller gun stores, not big box retailers that sell guns.
I guess my question is can you buy an AK-47 at Walmart?
You used to be able to.
AK-47. No.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
you could buy a semi-automatic like rifle at sporting goods stores.
Yes.
Previously, not any longer. A lot of these stores stopped that. I used to work for Dick's Sporting Goods and sold firearms. Like it's not a fun time at certain periods, but
Yeah.
I guess that's where I was trying to your records are already in there. Like when you buy a firearm, like you're in a database that you bought the firearm, like that gets keyed in, and that's where, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this one's a little bit weird to me. Because like you said, Dick's Sporting Goods, but also you got like Bass Pro Shops. They're huge, right? And you're gonna get, I would say, a whole bunch of gun sales go through things like Dick's, Walmart, Bass Pro Shops that aren't going to be a part of this investigative tool. And we just recently, there was a court case I think it was in California, where like some guy robbed a bank, and the cops had gotten the cell phone data from a particular tower, and they looked at like thousands of people that were in the area, and then they like isolated that one guy. And the Supreme Court came out and said that that's essentially like a dragnet, and that those dragnets aren't okay because you're looking into these people preemptively without like due process or cause. And if that's the case, then the fact that it's not illegal to buy 10,000 rounds of ammunition or to buy 20 guns. And so why should we have something that is putting you on some list to be investigated for engaging in illegal action, and then also excluding big box retailers from that? It seems too piecemeal for me to be effective, when you could just pass a law that says, hey, if somebody comes in and buys more than 5,000 rounds of ammunition, or buys more than 2 guns, or buys a certain type of gun, you just have to report it to us for all stores. And it seems like that would be actually more effective to get to whatever goal they have with this law.
There's some, I mean, we have technology. There could be an automatic like thing that's like, oh, this massive purchase of ammunition just went through.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking it up, and it says that the sports stores are included in the bill.
Interesting. It seemed to imply in the wording that it sort of excluded somebody like Walmart.
Right. Because that's what I didn't have that in my copy when I was doing my research. I didn't come across that specific thing, and so I'm just kind of Googling it now, trying to look it up, but I'm trying to like listen to you guys answer.
Yeah, sure.
Time.
Sure.
Yeah, but it says historically gun shops were lumped into the broad category of sporting goods stores, and now the new specific code is just for standalone stores and ammunition stores. So apparently, sporting goods stores have their own.
Is this like trying to affect the loophole of being from like a gun show type thing, like a private, or you have smaller entities selling guns at like a gun show? I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
It's an interesting thought. I'm obviously not holding y'all to anything, but what are y'all's initial thoughts on this? Like, if you were in Congress, where are you leading?
Let me explain one more thing though first, because it says that that they're trying to actually make it even inside a sporting goods store that if you buy a gun that is called general merchandise and not says gun, like that's kind of what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Okay.
So just kind of like.
So they don't want it labeled on the purchase header or on like the line item that you purchased a firearm.
Yes. I'm trying to like look it up and listen at the same time, but like the paragraph that I'm
That's
reading.
weird. That's weird.
Yeah, because I didn't have that. I didn't really see the difference of it, because honestly, like that's kind of the same thing for me. But I've never worked.
Yeah, this one feels weird to me. It feels like they're taking this really curved path to a goal and not just shooting straight at the point. And it seems subversive in a way. I'm not sure I like it.
So for me, it goes back to digital privacy rights, because that's kind of what this is. It's the same thing like when you go to Publix and now they know that you're buying chicken or you're buying Coca-Cola or something like that. Yeah. So if you're going to be doing that specific, then why does the gun people not have to do that? You know?
Oh, that's an interesting point. Okay.
So
Now that's, well, okay, so the data being collected on whether you're purchasing chicken or Coca-Cola at a grocery store, that's for like your Kroger Plus card or your Publix card or whatever. That's a private collection thing. That's not necessarily a government surveillance dragnet situation.
I would agree.
Yeah, but
also
who are they selling that data to?
Correct.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And the same, like every retailer now, sorry, Dan, to cut you off, but every retailer has a rewards program.
Yeah.
So like I know at Dick's, like, hey, put in your phone number so you can get your points for this. So it tracks like everything you're purchasing.
It still seems like, though, the dragnet problem is, okay, so even though every retailer still has that data, the government would have to go and ask for that data instead of that data being automatically provided to then trigger non-cause investigations. And I think that's kind of where my hang up is. It's the cause non-cause investigation problem, right?
So your main thing is you don't care if they have the data, but then the fact that it triggers the FBI to look into somebody that would be buying 10,000 rounds or something like that.
Yeah, that's my, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think that these people need to be looked into, but not because we're performing some type of data dragnet, right?
Yeah.
Not because we're just popping people into a system. I mean, it's reminding me of flock cameras, right? Like it's and then it's reminding me of the what the Supreme Court just said wasn't okay with collecting cell phone tower data and then just trying to figure out who was in the area and then like doing this giant dragnet. This seems like it's a step too far, in my opinion, from like the illegal search and seizure and kind of Fourth Amendment stuff, I think.
Yeah. See, I'm not a fan of guns just in general. So just across the board, right? So in the first Reddit, I'm like, I want them on a list and that's fine. But when you think about it, I also am a humongous advocate for digital privacy rights. And this to me is more that than guns. So I probably voted against it because of the digital privacy rights more than the gun thing. Like,
it's so funny that you bring that up too, because now that I think about it, if this law were to go into effect and it were found to have been constitutional, it could actually have an effect on digital privacy rights, that this would set some type of precedent.
That's what I'm saying.
Digital privacy rights themselves. That's a good point. I think that this, even if you really care about guns and you're willing to do this kind of roundabout way to get your gun control ideas in place, it would actually hurt other areas like digital privacy rights.
Wait, you know what? I said I was against the bill, but I meant I was for the bill because I'm against collecting data. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Correct. Yeah. I'm
just thought about it. Wait. Let me be clear on that part of it.
Yeah. Now that I think about how the bill was worded, it is that it's not allowed to collect this data. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think I'm for it too.
Right, because I'm very anti-gun, but I'm very pro-personal digital privacy rights. So that's my thing.
What are your thoughts, Eric?
I don't know. I'm trying to read like different things on it right now just to try to understand what's going on.
It is a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
I can chime in too. I asked VoteBot for doing a web search to relay specific reasons for opposition. So the main things that came up was, this one was from Giffords, about removes a vital tool for detecting specific purchasing patterns and preemption, preempting state regulation, and increased burden on the Department of Justice. I was finishing reading that one. Assigns enforcement responsibilities to DOJ without allocating additional resources. But yeah, that was helpful.
So the reason for that, well, let me explain that part of it, because what they're doing is they're not letting any states actually do any of the court cases for this. And then it's mandated that it has to go to the Attorney General, and which I find kind of crazy anyway, because they're severely understaffed and they're just going to give themselves even more work to do.
Yeah. Although I think preempting gun suits has been a thing since long before. I think even before Obama, there was laws being passed that basically preempted states from suing gun companies and things like that, because they wanted it all handled federally for a long time.
Yeah. So that's because,
and I'm a little bit hesitant to allow our current state of the DOJ to go to then justify any of these moves that we're making, right? I think that, just because you hamstring an agency doesn't mean that they don't have the responsibilities that they've always had or that they used to have.
Correct. Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on this one? Shall we move on?
No, that was a good one. I like that one. It was a good opener.
Good to start with.
I'm gonna
Cassie,
leave.
yes.
I know. I'm sorry, but
What
I
do you
want
got?
to. But I have to go to the other call. I gave it 9 extra minutes.
No.
So fun.
All right.
Thank
All
you,
right, bye,
guys.
guys.
We're glad you're
See you later.
here. Bye.
Yeah,
I was
before
hoping she was going to chime in.
I know.
sure she has thoughts. Before we jump to the next one, though, I'll point out that this one, it looks like it passed 221 to 201. And yeah, most of the Democrats voted no, Republicans voted yes. So yeah, you can see the breakdown down here if there's specific legislators you want to look at. All right, so let's see what we got next.
It's an interesting one. I would actually like to know other people's opinions on that one. So, like,
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
this is kind of the good thing about the Digital Democracy Project idea for it. Like, because that one's, it's worded weird. It's different
Yeah.
than actually what it's doing. And so, like, that's just a weird bill.
I agree. That's a confusing one. Because again,
Yeah.
we're for it, right? But it's prohibiting specific merchant codes. It's a complicated one, and it touches
I
a
know.
few different hot button issues. I mean, you got guns, you got digital privacy rights, you've got investigations and like justice action. It's tough.
And also, Jeremy joined us. Welcome, Jeremy. Good to see you.
Hi,
guys.
everyone.
Let's go.
Good to see you all. I feel like it's good timing because I think this was the one where I heard a radio ad saying,
Oh.
tell Trump's number one enemy, Dick Durbin, to like lay off the whatever.
Interesting.
It's weird. Like,
That's
seems
interesting.
like it was a big box stores versus credit card companies kind of fight.
Yeah,
And obviously a lot of money coming in on both sides. And those are the types where I'm like, let them fight it out. Unfortunately, that's the system we have, right? It's like not really about us at that point.
yeah.
Two giant megaliths of
The funny thing is
going.
it's like it does involve those two companies, but they're not really the main thing for it. So that's kind of the like. There's just a lot going on in this one.
And it occurs to me, I wonder too, how many like mass shooters, because it seems like what we're really worried about here is mass shooters, not just regular gun owners, right? I wonder how many mass shooters actually amass real arsenals, and how many mass shooters just have a couple of guns and a box of ammo that wouldn't really even be triggered anyways, right?
Right.
So like if 99.9% of the people that are triggering these like these kind of dragnet investigations are just normal gun owners that just happen to have basements full of guns because they do that sort of thing, it seems like also a waste of DOJ's resources and time.
And I looked up Dick Durbin's thing for it just so because Jeremy brought it up, and it
Is
turns
that
out what?
Is that this one?
Yeah, it is. So
Okay.
he is actually opposed to it because he is pushing for the tracking system that is trying to make it legal.
Yeah.
So he is trying to get the gun
So
registry.
he's for gun control, and he's looking for some avenue to gun control that,
I would have just made that bill stand alone and make this different though. Like, it's
I think if they chose a more direct path to it, and they weren't trying to do this kind of arc into the thing that they actually want, it'd be it'd be a more honest conversation, I think.
I'm super anti gun. So just like to put that out there, like I got mugged at gunpoint, so like first-hand knowledge of why I don't like guns. But like, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. If anybody else anything. Let's see if anything else.
All right.
We thought we were going to get through all these, Dan. The first one.
I just have to stop or just mute myself, and then we'll get through them all. It'll be fine.
No, it was mostly me, I'm sure.
We'll share
Yeah,
it.
it sounds like, all right, fewer bills, extra time for discussion.
Yeah. We're the
All
two
right.
chaos gremlins.
So this one, and I did notice a couple of these passed like unanimously, so maybe they're not as controversial. I think it was this one was one. So
All business ones are great, and they're going to be very quick for us.
okay. Yeah, Small Business Lending Fraud Prevention Act. This bill sets new requirements in the loan programs of the Small Business Administration. It requires any SBA employee involved in originating, reviewing, or approving an SBA loan to certify in writing before participating that they have no prohibited conflicts of interest related to that loan If a conflict arises after certification, the employee must immediately disclose it and recuse themselves from further involvement in the loan decision process. The SBA administrator must issue implementing regulations within 180 days, and the certification requirement takes effect 270 days after enactment. And this one, yeah, we had a couple orgs, like the House of Representatives that took a stance, but not very many on this one.
That's because it's passed 415 to 0.
Man, I mean, no notes. I don't see how you can be. This is like the "Don't Punch Kids in the Face" act. I don't,
But why wasn't this already a thing? And I thought it would be like already somewhere in the ethics clauses or something in it. But I was like, what? Yeah.
It's like, what happened that they had to put this bill in? Like something that had to happen. That they're
Totally good question. Yep.
Yeah, every law originates with somebody doing something stupid, right?
Why does this have to be obvious?
So there is something that is a little bit worrying to me sometimes, though, because like at what point do you draw, is a conflict of interest an actual conflict of interest? And can this be kind of misused and punish people that don't actually have conflicts of interest, but you want to make them look bad politically, or, things like this? But, the law can only do so much. So I'm still in full support.
Yeah, I think everyone's at full support. 415 to 0.
I can regulate some of this.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Votbot's taking a while on this one, but we'll save that for later. All right. So let's see. We got another small business one. So Small Business Technological Act of 2025. This bill expands the authorized uses of Small Business Administration 7A loans, allowing small businesses to use these loans for purchasing modern business software and cloud computing services, including tools that use AI to support routine operations like payroll, HR, sales, billing, accounting, and inventory. It prohibits using these loans for research and development, ensuring funds go towards operational improvements. It also clarifies that such uses of SBA loans were already allowed before this bill and does not alter the definition of working capital under the Small Business Act. It is kind of interesting, though. I feel like AI is a controversial thing. So it's just an aspect of it. But yeah, this
actually sets a new precedence for artificial intelligence to be explicitly coded into those bills, too. So this is like the first chance of like this happening for that kind of stuff.
Okay, so small business loans, we're talking about government-backed loans, correct? Okay, and then the behavior that's being explicitly allowed in this bill was already allowed before?
Yep.
So then does that mean that this bill is actually just disallowing them from doing things like R&D, spending it on R&D and things like that? Or was that already also prohibited?
Yeah, I think it was super specific about what you could and couldn't use them for. And this one was now for software, cloud computing, but the new thing is AI. So that's why I think it got written, is to specifically allow AI.
Explicitly allow. Yeah. That makes.
And I bet you it was the big tech companies that probably had this one made in the first place, so they could get their paychecks from it.
Okay, so as a software engineer, Dan, how are you feeling about this one? Do you think that the government SBA loan money should be going into the AI bubble?
I'm torn on this one because I think AI in different organizations and different business cases is really great. But I
agree.
Yeah, but there are a lot of uses where I do not think it should be used, where I think a lot of people think it's like a one shot and done, which is not how it is. Like medical stuff, I think is great for it, but then most of the medical uses that I like fall into research and development for it. So then it's not allowed anyway. Right. And so that's kind of like the weird thing about it. But I don't really mind it because I think software should be available to small business people. And if they use software and it helps their business, then I'm okay with it. Honestly, like AI is capable of helping people kind of fill in those gaps of things that they don't actually possess, like skills. So overall, I think I'm for it. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I do think it was caused by the big tech companies just specifically wanting to put AI in there.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
In fact, probably on some sales calls, some people were worried that like by using the small business loan for AI, it might brush up against something. So no, we're not going to buy your software. And that probably happened on too many sales calls. And they were like, you know what? We need the government to go ahead and make this explicitly okay so that,
Well, the other bigger issue is most software companies are instituting some version of AI into everything they own.
Everything.
So,
most companies are too. So
Yeah.
One more time.
He
Not
said
just
regular
software
companies are too.
companies.
Oh yeah. Right. So it might fall in that where maybe there was like a gray area in there. And so like that kind of be it. Like even Adobe has all of like the AI stuff and all their stuff as well. So like I
Man,
do a lot of graphic work. And so
So
it's like, do you want to use this? And I'm like, no.
I'm so mad about the state of Adobe over the last couple of years. I read the other day that Ford fired a bunch of like really high level engineers. They fired like 14 of their top engineers and tried to replace them with AI, and now they're like begging for him to come back.
I read that too.
That's happening all across the industry. It's why I'm like,
Yep.
I thought about getting out of technology entirely.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Off last year, and I realized, I don't think AI is ready to fully replace.
Yeah, they overpromised for sure. They
Oh,
they hyped it up
That
too
never
much.
happens.
Yeah.
We're actually finding an increase in the tech fields because I work at a college. And so specifically in web design and development, we're seeing a spike of people needing more people now because AI spits out code, but it doesn't do anything really. And it's how do you implement it and how you debug it. So a lot of people need experienced coders to fix the AI slop and make it actually work. And so we're seeing
want to be a junior developer just getting in, but
I missed it because we're talking
about
about the same
10 years. Yeah, it's definitely.
You're
something
talking about entry level.
I'm still not sure I want to, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
World's going to hell, and this, projects like this are a great way to get that turned around. So
Sounds good. But yeah, it passed like 414 to 4, I think, wasn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, 414 to 4. So
Who are the 4 that voted no? I'm curious why.
I just browsed, and by the way, I would like to add a filter for that.
filter?
It will come soon. The problem is I don't want to introduce filters on the bill scorecard without affecting the map because I think that would be additionally confusing.
Yeah, I could see that.
We got the legislative scorecard filters coming very, very soon, like within a day or two, probably. And those will be cool. You should try them out. Sorry, that was just an aside I wanted to add.
No, totally fine.
It would be nicer to, and I want to hear about all your pain points. Like, doesn't have to be now, but we're going to be addressing those pain points that we identify, and probably some that we haven't identified. And it's time to start again and really let our product take off and be everything we have envisioned and more.
Nice.
Yeah, look at that.
Joint effort.
I can answer the first question about why those 4 people voted no, though, because I asked
perfect.
4. They vote no because they vote against anything for any expansion of a federal loan program on the fiscal conservative grounds.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So it doesn't have anything to do with AI or allocation of resources. Right. It specifically has to do with
government, guys.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Because after I read the first one that passed unanimously, I was like, well, why did you be? That's the same question. I was like, what do those 4 people want then? And I'm like,
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Vobot did a pretty good job with that one. You were cutting out, but I'm assuming you were ready for the next one. All right, so we got Financial Exploitation Prevention Act of 2025. I did feel like the last set was really interesting, so I think it'll just continue. Say that again?
Are you sharing links to these? In case you want to on our own?
I don't usually while we're doing this, just because I could maybe like ask someone like John or something to do that. That's not a bad idea for people attending. But yeah, I guess I can while I'm pulling it up.
Or, why don't you keep driving? I'll do them this time. And
okay, but I like that idea, so people can pull it up and see what they want to see. That's a good feedback.
Yeah, sorry. I'm partially here to think about process improvements for us. So, but also it's fun to geek out.
Yes, appreciate it. All right, so the Financial Exploitation Prevention Act of 2025. This bill allows mutual fund companies to temporarily delay withdrawals from customer accounts if they suspect financial exploitation of a specified adult age 65 plus or with a mental physical impairment. Companies can request a contact, and if exploitation is suspected, delay withdrawals for up to 15 business days with a possible 10-day extension. During the delay, they must notify the trusted contact, unless risky, review the situation, and document actions. Records must be available to regulators. The SEC must also consult other agencies and report to Congress on protecting vulnerable investors. I thought this one was interesting. And we had a lot of org support.
It's 414 to 2.
I mean, okay. Again, this sounds great on its face, but the thing is, like, why so specific? So what if me as an under 65 person, you suspect financial exploitation? You can't do this, and like they should be doing this anyways.
Yeah, the thing that they're trying to kind of do is to kind of like people that actually need help or maybe are tricked or scammed is what they're working at now. So they're specifically looking at fraud for people that have a hard time figuring out what is fraud, right?
Yeah.
And so what
something very much like this happened to a friend of mine's father who was scammed out of like $300,000.
Wow.
So
yeah,
this stuff.
I had a friend that also had something kind of like this for let's say.
The bank should have prevented it from happening and didn't.
You know, there's a thing that bothers me too, where like the banks, like if you were to do like a wire transfer and you mistakenly typed in the wrong account number or you sent it to a scammer, the bank's like, sorry, bro, there's nothing we can do. It went through. We're done. We're not touching it. But I've read stories of like people who the bank accidentally deposited like $10 million in their bank account. And then like they withdrew a whole bunch of that money or transferred it to another account. And the bank's like, no. And they get to sue them and take them to court. And then they also forcibly take that money back. But it's like, why when the bank makes a mistake, you can forcibly take all this money back. But if I make a mistake, it's like, sorry, bro, that's on you. Like, we can't do anything about it. It seems like we need to pass, we need to pass more protection laws to protect just everybody against fraud, more than just like mutual fund companies for people over 65 that also might have mental impairment. Like, do it for everybody.
Imagine if the government actually worked for regular people.
Yeah, right?
Amazing concept that would be.
But they just keep carving out these hyper-specific groups. Like, just do it for everyone. What's the problem?
Yeah, I would agree. The reason they don't do it for everyone is it's a lot of work. And let me explain why. So when they actually start setting up their accounts, the trusted contact is kind of the thing. That's kind of the main thing. So it falls a lot on the actual bank or organization or the lending organization to actually maintain that data, make sure it's valid, and then utilize it again and again and again.
I mean, but that's what we're paying them for, and that's why they make billions of dollars every year. Get over it. Do the work.
I will also say it doesn't force normal people. It allows them to, which is different.
But most normal people don't want to have somebody else that can control their account. So I think that's kind of one of the other big things.
Yeah, I get that too. You're right.
Yeah. The other big thing that's actually written inside of it that we haven't talked about yet is a bad actor clause. So if the bank or the lending organization thinks that the trusted contact is in on it, then they can bypass him as well.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So do you think that's an overreach?
I think it's interesting. I don't know how you would prove that to begin with, but like, what about it would trigger this in the first place is my question.
Yeah.
Like, what is the scam alert?
Have to be large transactions or specific types of transactions. Like maybe if you had a merchant vendor with a specific code that went to a gun store, then they would, something like that.
Look at you doing a little callback. I like it. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what it does for it. And the people that kind of vote against it, or that's the real reason why, is they're putting a burden on those account holders to kind of make sure that this works. So, I don't know. I think it's a good idea, and I would agree that it could be expanded easily, and I would still vote yes for it. But overall, I think it's a good idea. Anything to help the elderly and anybody that has any kind of mental inability, why not?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Anything about it?
No, I think that's it. I'll have to think about it more, though.
We'll jump to, I know this one's been a little complicated, so we might have some extra discussion on some of these. So this one, the let's switch over. The National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, for fiscal year 2027. This bill sets U.S. defense policy and approves major military spending for 2027. It authorizes buying more ships, aircraft, missiles, and drones, and invest in cyber, artificial intelligence, space, and nuclear programs. The bill funds base construction, housing repairs, and expanded benefits to service members, including childcare, healthcare, and fertility services. To address security risk, it tightens rules on Chinese-linked technology and military systems and expands cooperation with allies. It also supports upgrades to the defense industrial base, research on next-generation weaponry, and measures to improve quality of life for military families. So this one,
is
I'll let
military
you guys,
appropriations.
yeah, basically. I was gonna say I'll let you guys cover the bulk of this, but I thought it was interesting. I heard that this one usually passes like with bipartisan support with no issue, and this one failed. That's what I heard.
I need a number because if they're asking for 1.5 trillion,
crap and skimp on things that the minority party is dead set against, or dead like considers necessary. So
yeah, isn't this the one where they were asking for like 1.5 trillion or something like
1.1.
1.1. Oh man, that's so much money.
Including
And like there's wording here, like it expands cooperation with allies. Like so what does that mean? Because I feel like we're kind of making most of our allies angry, and we're considering our only ally in the world Israel right now. And if they're going to use that clause as like to say, well, we could just give more and more hundreds of billions of dollars to Israel while also not helping Ukraine and also screwing over Great Britain and Germany and all of our European allies, I don't know. I need way
So
more.
So this has a provision. I don't know if anyone has, like, because it's not listed in here, and I'm pretty sure this is included in it, but it basically is aligning parts of our military, especially with weapons development and data, with that of Israel's military. And then what will end up happening is, so right now, what do we have? 3.8 whatever billion that we send each year to Israel, which goes to defense. The argument to take that away, well, they were trying on the back end to work in this deal with the NDAA to have a provision that basically they have that set in stone within this. That way, Congress has no oversight on the money that goes to Israel anymore, because they are basically intertwined with our weapons development as a part of this bill.
I can see why it didn't pass.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know why we don't have a vote for it though. But we'll have to look into that.
What's that?
I mean, I remember. I remember a vote for this. My congressman actually changed very publicly and very impactfully changed his position from what he had been. From a position on basically support for Israel.
Originally, it got out of the House Armed Services Committee, 44 to 12, and then it failed in both the House and the Senate. So that's kind of where we're at now with it, right? And to Eric's point, my concern with that is linking our data with Israel, because really, whoever has the most data wins, no matter what. And so we have a giant amount of data, and Israel has a ton of data on their people. And when we start mixing those together, it becomes one database that we'll never be able to separate. And so then we're going to build AI systems on top of it, and then we're never going to get it back. And
That's
so,
interesting.
I watched a whole entire hour-long video on this, specifically on the topic of merging the data. It's scary.
And that's a one and done situation. There's no unringing that bell. Yeah.
Yep. Because once you have it done, it's all going to be the server underneath like the White House, and then that's where it's just going to live and have access to everybody.
And the scary thing with this, like this would be the most that we have entangled our defense with that of another country in such a permanent way, to where right now, we have, I say we as members of Congress, like have oversight on how much money is going on an annual basis. We agree on that, and then it gets set forth every 10 years, wherever it may be. Once this goes into place, then that's where they're going to say we no longer have funding going to Israel. But now there's no oversight on that. and they have access now to more than the 3.8 billion. Like, it's a tangled mess right now. What's trying to be pushed through.
Yep. There's also the weird stuff. Yeah, because we talked about it. Like, there's funding in there for IVF for military members. You're like, what? Why is that in this bill? Like, it doesn't even really make sense for it to be in there. But I'm like, okay, very specific because it's for academy athletes at the Marine Academy. They want to improve their athletic facility, so that's in there. And the weirder part that I actually kind of like. So let me just kind of put this out there like that. Any company that actually does business with the military is not allowed to use their returning capital to the shareholders. So they can't actually do stock buybacks. Any company that deals with that.
Nice.
So that's kind of the thing about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah. So I start corporate buybacks and like stock buybacks and everything like that is ruining everything. So the fact that they're putting that in there, I was like, that's strange for them to put it in there. And I don't know why they're doing it, but I like that one specific little piece of it.
It might have been then throwing a bone to some of the people to try and get over the 51% line.
Yep.
It looks like Florida said no on this one, and it looks like Nevada said no on this one. I'm looking at the map that Sadie's got in there, but I've got so there was a lot of no. Okay, so the public was against a lot of this. I wonder, I'm curious what the general rationale for being against this is. I wonder if it's just that raw 1.1 or 1.2 trillion dollar number, or if there are specific provisions that a lot of people are reading into, like the Israel, entanglements type of thing that they don't like. I'm curious.
I think it's mostly what we're doing now. So like the war in Iran and stuff like that, people are like, we don't need this military stuff when we're just spending money and we're just wasting it. And I think everybody's voting because of that more than anything else, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, we're spending money on dumb things, so we don't want to approve this money.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely prevalent in my area, and I'll admit I haven't been voting a lot recently because I can't stand the Votes app. That's a whole other conversation. But it's
there are fighting words.
That's a prevalent issue in the area I live in upstate New York. Like, there's a lot of anti-war sentiment, and it caused my congressman to flip, where he was in a district with a lot of Jews. He was standing in Israel, but it also like almost earned him a serious primary challenge a couple times. And he's relatively new here. He's like a military guy, but he finally had enough. And ironically, a lot of the Hasidic Jews here are anti-Israel, which is very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, that was the main thing I heard about it, was the Israel related things. But that is another thing where VoteBot's really helpful too, for like us to be able to put like a more generic summary, and then VoteBot to be able to give you like more updates. Because us trying to like balance putting it in there so voters get a chance to weigh in first, but if it gets amended after the fact, I feel like VoteBot helps kind of fill those gaps there too. All right. Any other thoughts on this one?
I'm good.
I'm reading through that bill itself, and there's so much stuff in here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I want to see how long
That's
this
one of the
bill
things that makes the scoring process hard, and coming up with the scorecard scores, because like, how do you evaluate as we're kind of talking about, how do you evaluate a vote on this, coming from one of us versus a vote on one of the motions in the House? Like, it evolves so much. Like, this is a monster. And unfortunately, it's increasingly the norm in Congress, especially. It's true in some states too. Like in New York, everything happens through the budget. There are a few other states where that's also true. Florida, I gather, I'm happy to hear that's usually not the case. But in places where it is, like including Congress, how do we crack that nut?
Yeah, I feel like
to be meaningful and understandable what they translate to, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's just Congress shouldn't be doing it that way. That's not how things make sense or are meant to be, in my opinion. Because yeah, it should be like in Michigan, their bills are like 4 pages, and it's like it's pretty straightforward and like focus specific on what it is. But yeah, Congress is like the opposite. Yeah.
I just looked it up. It's over 1,000 pages with 100 different amendments. Well, hundreds of different amendments. So like, personally, if I get up there, I'm going to make simple bills, like 1 issue per bill, and then we vote on that. That's my whole plan.
You will be the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make more sense and probably make it more appealing to people.
Because, like, who's going to read 1,000 pages and be like, yeah, I don't like page on 896 section 2. Like, let's get that out of there. Like, it's just crazy.
Right. Even the staff doesn't read a lot of this stuff. And that means they're relying on lobbyists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Eric cut out, but I think he was about to say
Yes, that's the point.
I realize that's a feature, not a bug.
Even just looking at this right here, like section 315, a program for deployment of transportable nuclear microreactor, an area of responsibility of the United States Indo-Pacific Command. Like, and it's like an overarching thing. You could see where we're expanding our military in such a way. Oh, that's a scary thing.
For sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I think this is.
Well, I'm curious to see what they come back to the table with, because I doubt they're going to try and rerun the bill with the same wording. So I'm curious. I'm curious what the people who put the bill forward. I'm curious what they perceive as the reason that it failed, and what language they take out, and what language that they're really, really committed to keeping in, like the Israeli military intertwining and things like that. I wonder if that stays in on the next attempt. I think sometimes looking at the differences when they resubmit the bill is kind of telling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I wouldn't mind watching that.
We might need a little extra time on the discussion next month if they submit a new one, so that we can just unpack the changes, because I think that's going to show real priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be curious to see how it plays out. All right, so we got 5 left. I think we covered that one pretty well. So yeah, these I thought were pretty interesting. So we'll start with this one. I'll go to the bill page. So a joint resolution for congressional disapproval of a Centers for Medicare and Medicaid rule. So this joint resolution seeks to overturn a new rule issued by the CMS that would introduce prior authorization requirements for certain medical services under the WISER model. Under the CMS rule, providers would need to obtain approval from Medicare before delivering select services with the goal of reducing unnecessary or inappropriate treatments. If this resolution is enacted, it would prevent the rule from taking effect, so Medicare patients and providers would not face the added step of prior authorization for these particular services. I don't know what kind of healthcare you guys have had, but I've dealt with prior authorization, so I felt like I had a pretty strong opinion on this one.
I got an opinion on this one too, but I want to hear Dan and Eric first. I don't.
Yeah, prior authorization kills me. It drives me nuts. Like, I have a lot of medical problems because I have 2 cracked vertebrae, and so yeah, they have told me before that I was not allowed to have a nerve ablation that severely helps me every single time I get it, and they're like, "No, we don't think you need it." And I'm like, what? Like, what are you even talking about? And the thing that they're talking about here is called the WISER model, which is actually an AI-driven version of it. So the AI will just be like, no, I don't think you need it. And then you're arguing against a machine. And you're like, what are we doing? And the main problem with doing this is it creates a 2-tiered Medicaid system. So somebody in a different state can use it, and somebody in a different state doesn't have to. Because I forgot how many states are used. I think it's like 5 or 6. Is that correct? Did somebody check that? I think it's 6. So there are 6 states that are currently using it, which means you can get different care in those 6 states rather than the other 44. So I'm like, what is the point of this?
Does this say is this about specific services? Because it says specific services, just doesn't. I don't see anything about what they are.
It's probably some like bucket of just these are going to require prior authorization.
Yeah, and it's
it'll
probably
be, yeah. But you know how they do things with Medicare and Medicaid. Like when Joe Biden did the negotiation for prescription drugs, it only included like 10 drugs, and like they need to just, if you're going to pass the rule, pass the rule. If we can negotiate for drugs, we should negotiate for all the drugs. Come on, stop
Well,
this
right.
favoritism crap.
There's actually a law that prevents us from doing it.
These are probably services that liberals don't like, or liberals do like. I mean, no, I'm looking at the sponsors. It's almost certainly services that liberals like, or Black people, or non-gender binary people, or that kind of thing. That is my guess. Looking,
Eric,
at
what
the
are your thoughts?
And,
I honestly don't know yet.
Yeah, this one's so like I think
trying to,
Medicare and Medicaid fraud is huge, right? Like, and we need to do something to get the fraud out of the way. But I don't think prior authorization is how you stop fraud. It's just how you save money by denying people care. So it seems like the wrong mechanism to go after the actual problem, right?
Yeah. Let me do two things real quick. So the reason we actually don't negotiate all the drug prices is because we passed a bill back in 2003 called the Medicare Modernization Act, which is what I talk about all the time because I think we need to get rid of it. Because that is the one thing that actually like limits their ability to do a nationwide pricing, right?
Yeah.
So in 2022, I'll get a couple. I think it's like 5 or 6 a year. I forgot what it was, but like that's how many drug prices we can do every year. But if we edit that, then we can just do everything. Then we create a national price anchor, and then all the prices come down for all.
Yeah.
The drugs.
Yeah, that needs to happen. It needs to happen sooner rather than later.
I would agree.
Oh, desperately. Actually, some old friends of mine from DC are at the forefront of that fight.
Yeah. The other bigger issue is
very, very powerful. That's all we're saying.
Pharma's powerful for sure.
I see. So one of the other problems with this one is that they have like a clause in it where it's an AI bounty hunter clause. And so this is kind of like one of those tucked away in there. But it's actually really important because the problem is they want to make sure that the AI is doing it correctly. Okay. So they're hiring people on to try to audit these decisions, right? And if they review them and they find that they are saving money or they from the denied claims or they kind of like find it, then the actual person that finds it gets a percentage of the savings that they didn't pay out to that person.
Wow.
So the problem is it creates like a humongous incentive to reject for all of those kind of patient care. Because then people that are auditing it say no, and then they get a percentage of that money back.
I didn't think I could be more against prior authorizations, but you convinced me, Dan. You made me hate it even more. Thank you.
Put like little rider pieces in there that are like, wait, haven't you heard about this?
Yeah. So this one's a hard pass.
So essentially, I mean, this is really pushing Medicare and Medicaid to act a lot like our current insurance companies that are just rejecting. It's giving them more of a way to reject services.
Yeah.
I
just want to be clear.
To have nobody to blame
hold on.
because now
the
it's
resolution saying that they wouldn't have
This is what I was going to say.
to reject.
Correct. So, John, we're on the flip side again. It's one of those because we want to support this legislation because it stops the other legislation.
Okay. Fair.
Right.
Okay.
This is like, it's like a double negative. You kind of be like, yes, I'm for this because I'm against that. And you're like,
Yeah. However, I can be against prior authorizations. You just tell me yes or no. I don't.
Unfortunately, it already failed in the Senate as well. So it's already dead in the Senate.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention again, this is a good use case for why these impact statements are helpful. All these preemption and like double negative types of bills.
Yeah. Which I think is a shame. I think it makes what we do a little bit harder because when they write things in a confusing way, You know, you've got people that are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, working 2 jobs, 3 jobs. They come home, they want to have a voice. They're scrolling through their Votes app and they're trying to read these bills. And it's like you have to dedicate an hour or two to a single bill just to understand what it's trying to say or to see what they got buried in there. And it's really harming our ability to even participate or understand what's happening. And
yeah, I'll be honest with you guys, and this is my evaluation over the last year. I don't see that as our future. This project.
What is your future?
I think we want to look more into, better partitioning, but we can't rely so much on the super citizens.
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree.
They're rare.
I agree.
I learned that the hard way through many years in this space. There ain't any real super citizens who aren't already involved in something with a very clear agenda. So
Yeah.
we want to piggyback on those people who have those agendas and have this be more of an advocacy tool. I think that's how we get off the ground. And once we're off the ground, we have a lot of other possibilities.
So my big thing about my platform is the educational aspect of mine. So for every major bill, I'm planning on making a video about it because I think people won't read the bills, but they'll watch a video. And we just need to make sure that they're educational and only facts. So that's my big thing that I'm trying to push. Because I would agree that I don't think people will read bills. So we need a way that actually makes it entertaining enough where people will pay attention to it.
Yeah. I like that a lot. In fact, I did that in the past.
Yeah, Jeremy, I'll have to show you what Dan created too about all of that. But yeah, I'll show you that later. And John, I was going to respond to what you said too. I don't know the details of the background, but it sounded like there was a rule from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services that would do this. So then someone introduced this bill to block it. That's kind of why.
Okay, gotcha. So we're for it.
That is the Wiser Act that we're talking about, because the Wiser Act is the one that actually makes the AI thing. And this bill is trying to reject the Wiser Act.
Okay, so we're for this bill.
We are for this bill. I am for this bill. You can be whatever side.
But did you say that this bill was dead in the Senate?
Yeah, it's already dead. It was 46 to 50, I want to say.
Well, that's terrible.
One I checked is entirely on partisan lines.
Yeah.
That's terrible news.
Yeah, 46 to 50. Yep. And so now the 6 states that are using it have a completely different version for it. And by the way, it just goes up: Arizona, New Jersey, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, and Washington. There you go.
Awesome. Okay. Good info.
Onwards. Yeah, onwards towards the next Omni bill.
Yeah, let's see what we got.
My attention there.
Yeah, it's the Take Care of America Veterans Act.
Yeah, this one was a big one too.
It is 60 bills that got smashed
fixing
together.
VA.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you want to take care of American veterans, just fix and fund the VA and pay them more.
That is what this is trying to do on part of it. So yeah.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of stuff doing it. Yeah. So it's a 554-page bill that actually is like trying to smash everything together. I'll let Sadie do her thing and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll read this little intro or summary. So this bill, Take Care of America's Veterans Act, proposes major changes to veterans benefits and the VA operations. It would expand eligibility and increase payments for some disability and survivor benefits, update how disabilities like tinnitus and sleep apnea are evaluated, which may lower compensation for some conditions, and raise VA home loan fees in certain cases. It also aims to broaden access to healthcare, mental health services, rural care, and caregiver support, use automation to speed up claims and appeals, enhance education and job training benefits, increase oversight and reporting, and expand partnerships with community and rural health providers. Because, yeah, there were a lot of orgs on both sides of it. So, yeah, I'll let you guys talk more about it.
Yeah. So it originally started because there was one bill that was extremely popular, and I just lost the name of it, but it's like the Marshall Starr Act, Major Richard Starr Act, right? And so this actually goes back to a bill that we talked about back in February, because the main issue is when people get they're pensioned and they have a disability check, then they can't get both of them together because do you remember talking about that bill a long time ago?
I think so.
Right. So it's trying to make sure that people don't get dinged for having disability checks and their military pension checks. That's really what it is. Because right now they are. And so as the military pension goes up, then the disability goes up, and then they have to pay it back. It's a weird, strange thing about how disabled you are. And then they determine how much of your pension you get or have to pay back for it. It's a very weird thing, right? And so that was extremely a popular act that would have passed by itself. But, of course, then they tacked on 59 other bills to it because they knew people liked that one so much that they're like, look at all this other stuff we can pass. And so that's how this became a 554-page bill.
We have to stop doing that.
Yep.
We need to simplify it.
Yep. It restricts collective bargaining rights for VA hospitals and employees as well, which also kind of sucks because we need,
Wait, it ends collective bargaining rights or it allows?
Restricts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not okay with that.
Yep. The other big thing that it does is, Sadie kind of mentioned it, but it talks about sleep apnea and, I'm going to say it wrong, tinnitus? Tinnitus. There you go. Can't say it. But basically, that's the number one kind of thing that most military people come back with because they have such hearing problems from all like the military guns, the sirens, and all those loud things that that's the number one thing. So the fact that they're trying to limit it is how they're trying to save money for the rest of it. So they're taking away care from sleep apnea people and the tinnitus ones, and they're trying to make it more that way. So that's kind of the problem with it, is they should have just increased the whole thing, but now they're trying to take away care that they already give to make other care. So it's like, what is that? Like, I can't remember this thing. Robbing Paul to pay Peter? Is that how that goes?
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, yeah.
One of those things. Right.
Yeah.
Let's go for somebody. That's kind of funny. Anyway, it's just too many bills together.
Yeah.
So on net, are you for or against? Are you willing to take the good with the bad? Are you willing to take the bad with the good on this one?
For me?
Yeah.
My problem is like, I think that's going to help the veterans. I'm for it, right? But the problem is it's so many different things together that I would still want to crack it apart. So for me, I would try to force them into doing individual bills for it before that. But if we had to vote on this one, I probably would vote for it because I'm for the veterans. So and ultimately, it does pass that Major Star Act, which does fix that big loophole that they've been working on since February, and actually been working on it for years. But that was the last bills in February.
So Dan and Eric, I know that you guys are talking about using this tool, like not only in your campaign, but as you're legislating, if you get elected. If you ran across a bill like this where it seems to have, good and bad parts, and you're a little bit on the fence, maybe leaning, 55% one way, 45% the other way, how would you implement something like Digital Democracy Project to help you get over that line, or to help talk to your voters about the specifics in here and what might be dangerous and what might be worth considering in order to then go and give their opinion? Because I know that you guys are kind of committed to, if your constituency says something, even if you're for it, you'll vote against it because they are, or even if they're against it.
Well, that's me, but I don't think Yonce has.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I think he's just going to pay attention. So let me just be clear about that.
Yeah, you're a very direct democracy platform, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yonce, do you want to talk about it first?
Yeah, I mean, where I'm at, this is tough because there's some great things in this, but there's also a lot of bad things in this, to where I would this is where this platform would really be great, because then you could share this out, or as a member of Congress to then go and say, hey, like, any followers that I have within the district, like, I'll take a look at this. Let's break this down and see, like, what do you all feel about this? Yeah. Because ideally, yes, let's break this up, and that we. Right.
So with that in mind, like, would it help to split this up into the chunks? Maybe
I think it would.
I think so.
Chunks together. Would that be more or less informative of your vote? Because you can't vote on the chunks once this is in final form.
You vote on the.
But
I wonder if it
want to
might be
look
good
at
to add
innovative ways we can do that. So I'm really curious what you think here.
Yeah, I wonder if we could add a feature where, like, when we have giant omnibus bills, we could pick out like the major pieces of it, and we could do like a bill HB 584 A, B, C, D, and E, and then we could have the people vote on specific portions of the bill, and then see what they support and what they don't support, and then we could do an ultimate vote at the top, which is: are you willing to swallow all the poison pills to get the good stuff? Or are you against it, but you still support a bunch of provisions in this bill? Or are you against all provisions? I think that'd be an interesting experiment. It would certainly complicate things.
Actively considering that for a redesign. The question is how.
Yeah.
And the other question is it going to be part of the initial release of the next iteration of the site?
Yeah.
Or are we going
It's an exponential problem, though. Like this is a huge problem to try and code around, I'm sure, to try and get into specific parts of the bill.
DC who I've been in the trenches with, and this was the very first thing he asked. How do you handle that?
Yeah.
So the way I would handle it, and this is kind of my idea for this kind of stuff, is I would chunk them out and then give people the yes, no, right? Or abstain. Yeah. But I would also add it like a deal breaker button. Yeah. So a deal breaker button is the one that's like the reject. Right?
So I was actually thinking.
Let me just finish my one thought.
Oh,
so my main plan of attack is just to kind of make sure that everyone understands the two sides of things. Like, these are the good, these are the bad. Weigh it for yourself, right? Because my whole job is to inform people about their choices. And then if this is the bill that comes up, then there you go. And so,
yeah.
And then
the deal breaker button is basically saying, like, if this provision is in there, I have to vote against the bill, even though I support 60%, 80% of what's in there. But because this one clause is in there, we're done. And I have to vote no. Right. And then that might, if the legislators have to resubmit the bill, then that might be the one that might be the clause that gets focused on being taken out so that there aren't as many deal breakers. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting system. I think that's a really good place. Yeah.
I was thinking even beyond that. What if we were to move towards more of a Likert scale? 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 instead of pure up or down.
Well, if you're going to do that, you probably should just use the center be 0 and then go outwards into a positive and negative numbers is what I would suggest for that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, right. Whatever you want to call it. It's some more than binary options. Since this isn't Congress, we can treat it like a poll.
Yeah, sliding scales. Yeah.
And
I think these are great ideas.
Richer answers if we can show those distributions.
Yeah. But I think this should probably be a different call. So I think we should start.
I totally agree.
Sorry.
Sorry,
I do want to actually have that call pretty soon. So
yeah.
Well, when? I want to be on that call.
Oh, I'm counting on it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds good. But yeah, I do think it just shouldn't be functioning this way, and we're trying to have to deal with that, whereas other states aren't making it that way. But
I do want to talk 3 more things about this bill, though. We got super distracted, but there was 3 more things that are.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The one thing it does is provide funding for children and descendants of service members because they want to study the effects of if the toxic exposures from like Agent Orange and the burn pits and stuff like that. And so they want to test and see if it actually affects their children, which I actually think is really cool.
Ooh, epigenetic changes. Yes, that's huge. I think that is very worthwhile research. 100%.
Correct. That's why I was like, ooh, I'm for that one, but I'm like against this one, but I like that one again, right? The other thing it does is specifically calls out and carves out the electronic health record management system that they've been trying to do forever from Oracle, right? But Oracle has been dragging their feet on it. So they're like, you know what? We're not giving you any money. And so they specifically went, nope, for that whole entire section. But it does provide money for other IT infrastructure, which I also kind of like. But
I like that. Yep. Cut out Larry Ellison. Yep.
Last one that's kind of interesting for me. There's a section in it called the Love Lives On Act, which is kind of interesting. Because before, when a military member's spouse would pass away, when the military member would pass away, but the spouse would still collect the pension checks, there was a timeline for it where they couldn't remarry somebody and still get those money for it, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea of this is that the people can still get the paychecks of their deceased partner, but it doesn't prevent them from finding new love or from finding someone else to share their lives with. because a lot of times people just couldn't get married because they would lose that money, and I think that's a weird one. So
yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, those are all good provisions. I like those.
yeah, that's why I wanted to point out those.
Especially
Like them.
I like the epigenetic study. That's my favorite.
Me too. I like that one, but I love the cutting out Oracle too. So
Yeah.
I'm just bitter. It's fine. All right, next one.
Sorry, Sadie. We did it again.
Trying.
It's all right. We're doing a lot better than sometimes. All right, so this one's really interesting.
I find this one of the dumbest ones.
Really?
I do. Like,
It's interesting. I don't have a strong opinion on it.
Set up polls, and he's already did 3 different polls on this, and I'm like, go ahead. Why do you find it interesting? Change my mind.
Well, yeah, I'll read the little bio. So Sunshine Protection Act of 2025. This bill aims to make daylight savings time permanent nationwide, eliminating the twice yearly clock changes. The bill would amend federal law to advance standard time in each time zone by 1 hour year-round. States that currently opt out of daylight saving time, such as Arizona and Hawaii, would be allowed to maintain their existing standard time or adopt the new national standard as they see fit. The goal is to provide more daylight in the evenings throughout the year, while still allowing flexibility for states with existing exemptions. And yeah, my only opinion of it, I personally like having more light in the evenings, but I've heard, I think it mentioned here to, avoid darker mornings during winter school and work commutes. So I can see like kids going to school early in the morning, it being weird if they're in the dark. But yeah, there's some health reasons behind it too, but I want to hear you guys.
Health reasons. As someone who's more nocturnal than, or, my attention and productivity skews late in the day, and I like being able to see the sunlight ever in the winter. It's really depressing. Now, there is an argument. Why are we messing with the time? Why don't we change the times when we do things? This actually came up. I had some German, basically cousins, non-blood cousins, but they were visiting me actually yesterday and talked about this. And that's what they said. Like, why are you messing with your time zones? Just change when you do things.
That's a good point.
But also, that's not going to happen. So
I read something some years ago, and they were studying people that went on flights, international flights a lot. And apparently people who experience jet lag on a regular basis, they lose like 3 IQ points permanently. Like they cannot, they just don't recover them apparently. And I think that constantly messing with your sleep schedule, like doing that every year with the daylight savings time, it could have an impact. I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying it could. I think changing the time, every season is confusing. I think we need more daylight in the evenings because I'm a night owl. But I can also understand, like, when everybody's waking up for work and they're barely getting out of the door and everybody's running late and it's dark out and you're driving to work and you're half asleep, that could be dangerous. I could see car accidents increasing from driving to work too early. But maybe that just means that places need to stop opening at 6 a.m. anymore. I don't know. Yeah. I'm for more sun in the evening, but
well, it comes down to our circadian rhythm actually being affected by the sun. So that's kind of like their point for it. So like usually we wake up with the sun and we go to bed when it goes down. So by shifting everything later, people are concerned, and this is kind of the opponents of this bill for it, because they think that we should go to the other one. So instead of permanent daylight savings time, they want permanent standard. So that's kind of the only people that
I will leave this country if they do that.
I didn't hear what you said.
He said he'll leave if they do that.
No, I mean it's an hour, so I don't really care. There's so much. Why are we legislating?
That is a lot.
It's just dumb to me. Like to spend any amount of time on this is just a waste of my time.
Because
I know it just drives me nuts. Because the most of the time that people that want the not the daylight savings but the standard time, it's because kids go to school and they don't want their kids standing at the bus stop, right? Mm-hmm. They want the circadian rhythm is the big one that people talk about, and the commuters. So there you go.
So, okay, I think honestly, the thing that disrupts our circadian rhythm the most is artificial light. The invention of artificial light has been what's disrupted our rhythm more than anything in human history. Because I was reading a thing about the sleep habits of like pre-industrial people. And you know, have you ever heard the term the witching hour?
Yeah.
So apparently the way that we used to sleep is we used to sleep in blocks. We used to sleep for like a 4 or 5 hour period, and then we'd wake up for 1 to 3 hours, and then we would go to sleep for another 4 or 5 hour block. We didn't have a straight 8 hours of sleep. And the witching hour was always spooky because that's when people woke up in the middle of the night and went and did things. And then when you woke up the next morning, everything was different. You couldn't tell why. And it's because witches came and changed things when we weren't around. Or I presume that's colloquially how the witching hour came up. But it's like the full moon problem, right? When the moon is full, there's more crime, yes, but that's because people can see in the dark and they're more likely to be out in the dark, not because the moon itself causes crime, right? But I think that because we've already damaged our sleep habits from what they were naturally, and artificial light being a thing, like our circadian rhythm isn't really, you're just going to develop your own circadian rhythm based on your work hours, your profile, your standard life profile more than anything. So I don't think going to standard time, I don't think there's a good argument for me.
Let me tell you my problem with this.
Okay.
Right? The main problem comes down to states being able to opt out of it. So because say Florida accepts it and Georgia doesn't, then they're just an hour behind us always. When every single time you cross that line between any states, you don't know what time it is anymore.
Yeah.
It literally be like between different states. So driving from here to Washington, D.C., the time could shift 4 different times or 5 times. It's ridiculous.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That is silly. Yeah, if we do it, we need to do it all the way. Either do it or don't.
But they won't, because they're already carving out exceptions like Hawaii and Alaska, right? Because they already have exceptions for it. And then it's written into the bill that any state can actually pass their own state laws to just ignore it. So, but wait, not ignore it. Let me be specific. The state laws, they have to pick one or the other, but they can't do daylight savings time anymore. They either have to choose daylight savings time or standard time. They can't opt out of like the whole thing.
That's interesting.
I feel like that would work itself out over time, honestly.
Yeah.
My question is, why? Why are we doing this in the first place? Like,
because daylight savings time is.
Well, Florida started it.
Really, I didn't know that.
We voted on this to end daylight savings time a couple years ago. I'm like 90% sure it was like, or I know we voted on it as a state at one point.
I wouldn't.
But like it could not go through and it had to be heard at a federal level.
Well, here you go.
I'll just tell you, like, for my short amount of time, I lived in Nebraska for 6 months, and it was during the winter, to where you had only a small window of daylight. So you woke up and it didn't get light out until probably about 8 a.m. And then it was getting dark at 4 o'clock in the evening. So this doesn't, like, whether you change it an hour one way or another, like, I don't know, like,
we just went.
I hate the changes each time. Like the fact that we go through these changes twice a year.
Yeah, just
it always messes us up. Yeah,
well, you're the one that this bill is for. I was just on an Alaskan cruise, and the sun never really set, so I was like, "Yep,
yeah,
time of day is it's fine." So it's always sunny. Anyway, that's my 2 thoughts.
My one thing to add, I thought it was funny the National Golf Course Owners Association showed up as supporting. Not surprising.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
That's kind of
interesting.
Funny. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so guys can go in after work and still get some tea time sun out. That makes sense. That makes sense. You know what? Hey, I get it.
Or just get sunlight in general. Again, so you don't go crazy.
All right, Sadie, what's our next bill?
Drug shorting, compounding.
Yeah, so this bill allows pharmacists and physicians to compound and distribute limited amounts of recently shortlisted drugs to hospitals or clinics for urgent use without prescriptions for every patient, only when FDA-approved or outsourced alternatives aren't available despite reasonable attempts. It sets new labeling requirements, mandates prompt adverse event reporting and patient record tracking, and requires earlier, more thorough reporting of drug shortages and demand strikes. By loosening some restrictions during shortages, the bill allows the use of compounded drugs that haven't undergone full FDA approval while maintaining some safeguards for oversight and patient safety. Yeah, I think I abstained on this bill. I wasn't sure.
I support it. If you can make the drug, make the drug. I don't care. It's 4 parts this powder, 8 parts this powder, and then 40 parts filler, and then you press it into a pill. If a person needs the pill, give them the pill. I don't care. Just because some multinational corporation doesn't want to ship it to you for less than $5,000 a pill, I don't care. If you can press the powder yourself, take it. I don't care.
Well,
The FDA approval was for me.
The FDA approval is the problem as well, because the thing that is supposed to help out is when we can't get them from a different company, right? So when we have shortages across the way. So obviously, if they're going to be like life-threatening or something like that, then we should of course allow it, right?
Of course.
I looked into some of the the examples of it, and like one of them is like the GLP fat drugs, right? So
I don't care about that.
Sure. But then on the other hand, you have cancer therapy drugs.
That I care about. For sure. You should be able to make it.
Right?
Yeah.
But I would have, if this was my bill, I would have probably written it a little bit differently, where I would have said like life-saving drugs, right? Because but they did kind of put in things in there about the labeling, so people will know it's from a compound pharmacy instead of like a thing, and then it also have to be listed for that FDA approval. So,
yeah, the Medicine Association is against it.
I feel like, okay, if the FDA approved the drug, even if we're talking about something like Ozempic or Wegovy or something like that, so what? Let your compounding facility, if they want to sell it to you for $1,000 a shot or whatever, and your compounding facility is like, dude, we can make this for $6. Like, have them make it, because you know what it's going to do? It's going to drive down the prices of those companies that are gouging people. So whatever. If you can make it, make it. If you have the formula, make it. I don't see why the government should tell you can't. This is America. I can make my own drugs if I want to. I don't care.
Well, some of them are actually like proprietary, where we can't make them, and so that's kind of like.
I think drug patent law is a farce. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Right. But they have to make their money back, and that's what causes all the research, because without their making the money, then we don't get enough research, and that falls it back on us.
Man,
medicine should be for profit.
Just fine with research. Like,
let me finish my one thought. Jesus Christ. All right. So, I don't even remember what I was going to say anymore. All right. You guys talk.
No, research and development money. Go ahead.
What?
You were talking about research and development money and them making their money back.
Yes. So I think if we could actually make the drugs cheaper, right, then the government could actually be in charge of the research, which I would more like, because then we would put it away from private companies and have everybody have the research, and then it would just make it better that way. So that was my thought. Thank you for coming.
So I totally agree with you, but the thing is, I was watching a thing a while back. I don't remember what it was, but they were talking about the major pharma companies and how much they actually put towards research and development. Even most of pharma companies' R&D is still funded by the government. The money that they say that they're putting into R&D is not anywhere near what they're actually putting into R&D, and it's certainly not coming out of their profits. It's coming out of taxpayers' pockets, and a lot of the R&D already starts foundationally at the R&D we did at colleges. So I don't, if the R&D is already government, I'd say if they have any R&D funded by the government in any way whatsoever, or that it piggybacks off of any government discoveries or research from college levels or institutions, then they can't patent anything. Because the thing is, I think, wasn't it the guy who discovered insulin and figured out a way to synthesize insulin? He sold the patent to the U.S. government for $1, and he said there is no reason that this should be gate kept by money from people that could save lives, and he gave it to the government. But now somehow the government has leased that patent to 4 companies, and now only 4 companies in the country can actually manufacture the insulin. That shouldn't be the case. If I can make my own insulin in my basement, I should be able to make my own insulin, right? And if I can go to a compounding place right down the road with a few scientists and some beakers and jars and some powders can mix me up some insulin, they should be able to mix me up some insulin. I don't. There's no reason. And then they're also doing the things where they're making tiny slight modifications at the end of their patent, time term, in order to reapply for the patent and repatent the drug for another 20 years. So they just when they did I think they did it with some type of pain reliever. It was like a Tylenol or something, but then they added a little bit of caffeine to it, and then it reset their patent timeline so that they could keep the patent for 40 years instead of 20 years. And I think they're abusing that whole patent system. So I think we need ways around it. We need ways for that to all go away.
I would agree. The main people that are against this one, though, is the FDA checks. So the people think that once they give the compound pharmacies the rights to do this, then they're just going to make all these like different medications without having the checks and qualifications for it.
Okay. I think if you can verify your process and you can show that you did it in a way that you followed the recipe, you got all the proportions right. We've got photos of the proportions in the bottles we took. Here's the paper trail for where we got those chemicals. They're all 100% pure approved. They're also through FDA approved channels. I think as long as you do your due diligence and you can show the FDA I followed all the processes properly for this particular drug and this particular compound, then whatever, the FDA has what they need to research and figure out if something went wrong.
Right, but then you're still allowing FDA to oversight them. And this,
I'm okay with FDA oversight. I think the FDA does have an interest in making sure that everything's safe and you're following procedures and you're not throwing garbage into the pills. And yeah, I think that's fine.
But this is why people are nervous about this bill. That's what I'm saying.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So wait, so people want no oversight for compounding facilities at all? That seems wrong too.
No, they want oversight, and this bill doesn't make it have oversight.
Oh.
They're saying they can make an insulin, but they never have to get it checked, and then they'll sell it if they need it, kind of a thing. That's what the main people that are against this is for, right? The main people for it saying, hey, if we need these medications, we need these medications. But some people are using like the high demand ones, like the GLP-1s, and saying, is this a good reason because so many people want it to kind of forget about the FDA policies for this one because we just need more because people want more. The other flip is like if it's cancer therapies and we just don't have enough and it's affecting them, then I'd rather have a fake ass cancer treatment than no cancer treatment. So like
I do think there does need to be some oversight. I think and logging and tracking at the very least so that we can go back and investigate what happened if something went wrong.
Well, that should be the labeling aspect of this bill.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
I gotta sign off, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great, Eric. Thanks for coming, man.
Good to see you.
I love the brain download you guys offer. It's been a while since I've been around that, so pleasure. I'll try to get some of I might be able to get some of my friends to come to these.
Definitely.
We always have a good time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Take
thanks
care.
for joining.
Have a good one.
Soon I will be in touch about site plans stuff.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, Sam. We are almost there.
Yeah, one left. All right.
Hey,
Yeah.
did somebody just join?
I
think Jeremy left.
Oh.
No, we're good. Oh, yeah, no, that's it.
Okay. So the last one. So, whoops, I hit the wrong button again. 1 second. So this one was the one that Charles was interested in. He's about to go to, I think, law school. So yeah, this one was a joint resolution providing for congressional disapproval of the Department of Education rule. So John, similar to that other healthcare one.
This is that double negative.
Yeah. This one would block recent Department of Education regulations on federal student loans, preventing the changes from taking effect. If enacted, it would keep the graduate and professional student loan plus program unchanged, allowing graduate and professional students to continue borrowing up to the full limits. There would be no new borrowing limits for graduate students and parents, maintaining current rules. Existing income contingent repayment plans would remain rather than being replaced, and current loan rehabilitation policies would continue, so borrowers would not get another chance to rehabilitate defaulted loans. All right, let's see. We got a lot of, looks like education related orgs that support. So what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, as a college professor, this is quite near and dear, and education is a huge platform of mine, so I do have thoughts. Right. So the main problem that this is all coming from is they're trying to dismantle the educational department of our government, right? And everything that they're doing along the way is trying to make sure that we push it back to the states instead of having federal oversight for anything. Now, the reason that they're doing this is because Linda McMahon put out that whole statement about they're capping the amount that you can actually get per year. So, for example, like a graduate student would get about $20,500 a year, but it caps at like $100,000, which means anything over that amount, then the person would have to find private loans for, and no longer by the government. So the question, like, it sounds really bad at the start of it, right? Because you're like, well, people need money because they need to go to school, right? So I started looking into why they would do it in the first place, right? And why they do it in the first place is they're trying to force educational universities to lower their tuition rates, right? Because they want to say like, hey, this is how much this should cost, and this is how much we're giving you. So if you don't charge this, then your students will have to pay for the rest themselves. So that's what they're trying to force through, right? The problem with that is nothing would be getting done in time for this to kind of enact that way, because students and schools don't act that fast, especially traditional universities, where they're never going to be able to do this. And the timeline that they put in is ridiculously short for it. And so what's going to happen in theory, like in practice, not even in theory, but like what's going to happen then is lower income and middle income students are not going to be able to afford to go to school anymore, which just forces them into different sorts of education, which there's plenty of other kind of stuff that they could do, but they won't have access to this until the kind of educational universities try to figure out how to lower their prices in order to make that work. So that is what they're trying to force them doing. Anyway, so that's my 2 cents on it. Yeah. I think education should be free, or at least should be right. My whole thing is I don't mind if people have to borrow money for it either, but it has to be at a 0% interest rate, because I don't think we should actually be making money off of that. And I always give the example of my partner, right? My partner, Ray, had about $20,000 of student debt, and he was to culinary school. And then he paid on it for 10 years, $300 a month for 10 years. And at the end of that, he owed $27,000.
Crazy.
Correct. And I was like, what? And so I started like looking at the numbers, because I'm an engineer and I love data. And I actually looked at all the numbers and I'm like, it's crazy how much they're spending on interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what causes everyone to hate education and hate getting those student loans.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if we just solve that one problem, people would pay back the money and be done with it. And they would get out of it in 10 years. And then everything after that would be fine. Instead of getting like this like student loan debt on your back for till you die. Because that's
didn't we just surpass $1.5 trillion in student debt total nationwide?
Sure. Yeah,
I think John Oliver did an episode on student loans, and there was a program that Bill Clinton had enacted, and it was like, if you graduate college and you go into some type of public service, then your loan is wiped after 10 years as long as you make some minimum amount of payments.
Yep.
And there were the government allows the banks to service the loans, and the banks are the ones that are collecting all this interest and doing all these dirty things to keep getting themselves money. And I think there was one lady who she became a teacher or a nurse. She did some public service thing, and she paid on her loan for 10 years, and she made the payment that she was supposed to by law that the bank said that she needed to make, but the bank set the payment at 1 penny under the necessary condition to get the loan wiped. So every payment that she made, she was 1 penny short for 10 years. And then at the end, when she was like, oh, finally I'm out from under this albatross, the company was like, nope, sorry, you were under by like some pennies, and you got to pay back the whole thing, and your principal's higher than it was. And yeah, it's this trapping people in perpetual debt thing has got to end. It's got to stop.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I don't think, like, what they're doing now, I don't agree with. So I would vote for this joint resolution, because that means it would be against what they're doing.
They're doing. Yeah.
Right.
Ending the changes that Linda McMahon is making.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's an irony too to Linda McMahon heading up the Department of Education, considering when she went in front of her congressional hearing, she had an assistant with like a big fat stack of index cards, and every time she was asked a question, she looked over at her helper and she went through the index cards and found the answer for her. I have to say, like, cheating on the tests for the education secretary is unacceptable.
Yeah. The fact that she doesn't even know what AI is and called it A1 is a whole big thing.
Oh my
The
god!
fact that it's nothing to do with education. Like, it just goes on and on and on, and I don't understand.
I mean, is that just inability to read in general?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I
Well,
think,
we need social media because else how she would get those cards.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is this so? This is overturning, or at least trying to work against, because earlier in the year there was the whole thing that basically said that like nurses didn't qualify for a certain amount of funding, right?
Yep. Because those are called
so any type of
degrees.
Right. Okay.
And the reason they're professional degrees is because they cost more, and so that's why. That's the only thing about it. They're not professional. It's how much money can you get to pay off for the college for the loan for it. So that's why there's different tiers of it, because a nurse doesn't have to take as much school as a doctor, for example. So in their minds, that they don't need the extra money from it. Kind of was $50,000 a year instead of $2,500. That was the difference between the two numbers because I had to look it up too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really comes down to the kind of
non-controversial for us.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Well, because I could see the point, and I know we talked about it, but it's like,
yeah,
if we know the government is going to fund whatever cost you say your school's going to cost, then schools are going to continue to raise their tuition because the government's going to subsidize the income, and ultimately it's the student that then pays for it and has the debt and everything else. But if this government's going to say, no, it needs to cost this much, like I can understand both sides of it, and it's tough. It's a tough balance right now.
A better way to do that then is to pass a bill that actually limits or puts a cap on the amount that a school can actually charge, though. Like right now, the way they're doing it is how much a student can get, which is not the same thing because schools aren't going to lower the tuition immediately. And so it's going to start affecting people and it's just going to be causing chaos. Like if they wanted to do it correctly, put a cap on the amount. I'm for that. I like that too.
Wouldn't that, that would...
I bet a college professor
go against everything.
And like I ran a whole department. So for 7.5 years of the whole thing. So like I had to deal with all these budget stuff. So
Dude, there's no downside to a better educated populace. Like I don't see how the government isn't looking at this as an investment. And like cut the banks out. The only loans that the kids should be taking out is for them to like live on the dorm, have living expenses, get a car so they can drive around, stuff like that. They shouldn't be paying for like tuition and books and all that crap. That should be provided. Because when you graduate and you're better educated, you're a more productive citizen. You do more work. You do better for the country.
Yep.
Like we need to invest in education.
Mint is here. I don't know when she snuck in, but she's in. So like that little thing came up, and I was like, she is here. So yeah. Sorry. Continue your thought. I didn't want to derail you.
No. There's not much more to say. I mean, education is an investment. We should be investing in our people. We shouldn't be putting them in a lifelong cycle of perpetual debt that hamstrings their ability to do anything with their life. It needs to end.
Well, the reason it's going on now is because Trump said it literally verbatim. He said he likes his uneducated population because they're much easier to control. Because if you can't read, then you're not going to read the contract you're signing. You're not going to read the laws that you're actually passing. You're going to listen to what he says and then be like, well, this law does that, and not know that it secretly does 7 other things.
And you won't read the failing New York Times.
Or Fake News Atlantic or whatever you want. But yeah. Correct. But that's why I think they try to limit people from doing this, because they, in my opinion, I think they want more uneducated people because they're much easier to govern. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yep.
And,
Royal, who's actually running my race as well, who's also a teacher, he works at a high school. He has a really great story about this kind of thing where one of the states, and I'm not going to be able to do it as well as him, so I'm just going to flat out tell Royal you want to know the story. Because he actually, a state was kind of like really near the bottom of reading comprehension, and they were very red. But they decided to make a change for it and then started really pushing and making sure that everyone had a reading level of at least 5th grade or higher. And what they did is they spent like 5 to 10 years on it. And after that, the state flipped blue because then everyone understood and was able to actually know what they were doing. And then it flips. As soon as an educated population understands it, then that state tends to flip blue. So
That's crazy.
Yep. Royal tells it better because he's actually got facts. He's good. Good man.
Yeah, I was going to add in, we had done, one of the first bills we did was like abolishing the Department of Education. So yeah, I think it's related to that too, like you said.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yep. They're just trying to, because they're trying to get rid of the education department, but they're splitting it off into individual, like little chunks and giving it to other departments. And so this kind of goes with that because now they're giving the bank or loan piece to like the finance department or something weird, or the IRS or something strange.
So yeah, or it was like the Small Business Loan Association or something like that. They were trying to give the student loans off to. But here's what's crazy. All right, so I heard an interesting theory about if they did that. Okay, so if they would have been successful and they spun off all the student loans outside of the Department of Education into the Small Business Association or whatever, what you could actually do is sue in court and say, I didn't sign a contract with them. I don't owe this money anymore. And it would actually wipe all student debt off the table right now immediately. So, you know, there's one of those like Sun Tzu things, like don't stop your enemy when he's making a mistake kind of a thing. Like, because contract law is very specific. And like, if I sign a contract with you, Dan, and I say I owe you $5 million, and then suddenly you like just went out of business or weren't operating anymore, and you said, well, now Sadie's going to service that loan, I get to say, why am I paying Sadie? Like, I didn't sign a contract with Sadie, and if I'm no longer in contract with Dan, then I definitely don't owe anything to Sadie. The courts should just say, yeah, you're right, you didn't sign a loan with the SBA, so the SBA has no right to collect on that loan or to punish you if you don't pay them.
Yep.
So I think it could be a good way to eliminate student debt all at once.
I think it's interesting, but then that's going to be quite the fight in court.
It would be, and I think this current Supreme Court would probably not let it fly, even though it's really obvious contract law.
Yeah.
Like, really obvious contract law.
Have you guys heard about the Britain minifigure?
Oh my God, yes.
That's
yes.
exactly what this sounds like, because basically somebody owned this campaign for a store. They had a collection, they co-signed it to them with a contract, then they sold the store and somebody else bought the store, but then the people that bought the store thought all the Star Wars Legos were theirs, and they had to fight them in court because they're like, but we have the contract, and they're like, not with me, that was with the other people, and then like, but you bought it from the other person. So it's kind of like a weird, it's actually a little bit more straightforward than that. So it was a franchise, and this lady owned a franchise, and then corporate took over. And they actually have security camera video of the guy from corporate. It wasn't corporate. Corporate sold it to somebody else. So that's the piece that you're missing.
So corporate. So the guys, Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson, those were the two guys that took over the store. They actually work for corporate. And you're right, corporate didn't take over the store officially, but they gave the franchise to them to fix. So it was a corporate thing. And they have security camera video of the guy saying, because she brought up specifically on the security camera, like, we still owe this guy money. We've still got his Legos. It's a consignment thing. And they were like, we take on all responsibility and liability for consignment. So they've already taken responsibility for it. They owe this guy money. And the fact that, I don't know, have you seen what they've done to the YouTuber? Did you see what the police department's been doing to them, and like searching their car for 3 hours for heroin, and like kicking in their door looking for stolen Legos, like they were the ones that stole it, and like arresting him.
With the guy? Is it that Reckless Brian?
Yeah, Reckless Ben. Yeah.
Reckless Ben. There you go.
Yep. So they also put a gag order on him. So they were telling him that they didn't want to give him discovery in the court case that they're trying to put him in jail for. They don't want to give him discovery because then he could make the information public. And it's like, so you're not going to tell him what you're charging him with and what your evidence is against him because he might make it public. And they're putting a gag order on him and telling him that he basically doesn't have free speech rights to talk about his own case. And I think that's a huge overstep. I think that's terrible.
All right, Sadie, let's wrap this up, though. Let's wrap it up, and then we can kind of do this one. We can always talk that. We did lose Eric.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
I think Eric left.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that was a good discussion, and we will have this again. What was it? August 12th. I forgot to look it up before I started this. Yeah, August 12th. So yeah, hopefully we'll have a lot of people join in and have another discussion before before Florida has their primary election.